Hello and welcome back, and today I want to talk about AI-powered photo recognition. I know, super cool people. It's the start of 2020, I say that. It's mid-February in 2020, and I want to talk about two applications from two different NAS brands that I have mentioned on the channel before. I want to talk about Synology versus QNAP, and I want to talk about Moments versus QMagie. Now, these are two AI-powered photo recognition tools, and although both NAS brands arrive with multiple applications to support photos, for you to enjoy photos and make playlists and share all your pictures, they both also arrive with cataloging tools that allow you to upload years worth of photos directly onto the NAS, and then an AI-powered engine will cycle through them and spit out lists of pictures, lists of people, lists of items and things and subjects that it recognizes for you to browse through. Now, this video is actually going to be two separate videos. Today I want to focus on utilizing a web browser. We're not going to use client tools, and we're going to use video recording software, OBS, and we're going to look at two different NASes, a Synology DS1019 Plus and a QNAP TS251D. Now, before any of you highlight this straight away, one of these NASes is technically more powerful than the other, but it depends how you look at it. The Synology that we're looking at today is a quad-core Intel Celeron based NAS with 8 GB of memory, whereas the QNAP we're using today is a dual-core Celeron with 4 GB of memory, so it has lesser hardware. The reason being, I simply did not have two NASes currently available to me that were closer enough to make this comparison, but both of these are more than powerful enough to support their individual applications, and therefore I didn't think it would make too much of a difference to see both of these side by side, regardless of their hardware being that little bit different. Going back to my earlier point, the reason this is going to be two separate videos is because although I'm going to be using the web browser access and graphical user interfaces of both of these platforms, in my next video I'm going to use the mobile applications of both Synology Moments and QMagie to see how they compare. But without further ado, let's look at our two NASes and their apps. Both of them have the app arrive completely for free on their respective app platforms. You just go to the package center on the Synology or the app center on the QNAP. Both of them have got the app involved in their recommended applications from proprietary apps that are included, with the QNAP application arriving with the QMagie core and the QMagie application, as well as multimedia console, something I'll talk about later on. The Synology utilizes Synology Moments, while at the same time insisting that you install Synology Drive alongside it for reasons that will become clear later on. Once you've got these applications installed, you need to make sure you've got your photos where you either want them to be or need them to be, because this is another big distinction between these two applications. In the case of QMagie, once you open the software up, you can access photos wherever you want them to be. It will sequence the albums that you want it to search for. Just go into Multimedia Console, and once you've got that tool open, you can head in and choose where you want the apps to index, where you want them to look for your photos, therefore allowing you to create the folder configuration that you want and put the photos where you want them to be. On the Synology, and this has been a gripe I have mentioned in previous videos, you have to make sure the photos are in the right location. So regardless of where you put them, whichever folder you put them in, you have to make sure that you put them in the Drive folder, and more precisely in the Moments folder. Today we are utilizing an album that of photos that I took during the Christmas period of 2019. It's a single album with hundreds and hundreds of pictures. It's got food, it's got items, it's got people, it's got the works, and it serves as a great reference point for our video today. Now, throughout this video I'm going to try to highlight the things that I like and things that I don't like, but I know a number of you out there are going to be different, so I'll try to withhold any direct judgment where possible. But straight off the bat, I can tell you that I definitely prefer the software having to search my albums that I choose, rather than me having to put my photos in the album that Moments needs. So let's line these up. Let's start with the QNAP. If we shrink these windows down, we can make our way into QMagie. Now, this is the user interface of QMagie. We've got Moments just over here. And once you load into QMagie, the first thing it will do once you've uploaded your photos is it will start indexing the photos that you've told it to index. Every time you add photos to those directories that you've chosen to be indexed, it will add them to these albums. Now, you can click loose photos, and you can see in this album there's 479 photos and no video. You can scroll all the way down, there's all of my pictures there, and they're sequenced by the date on the side there. And if we pick an arbitrary picture like this, we can see that not only can we have a look at the photo, we can zoom into the photo if we choose. On top of that, we can share the photo if we so choose with anyone via email or just with a direct link. We can click the information icon to find out a little bit more information about the device that took the photo, loads of information about shutter control and more, as well as the weight and the name of that photo. We can delete the photo if we so choose, and finally we can rotate the photo if we want, create a slideshow of the photos that are there, or download it locally to our system. We can even choose a different size of the file. Now, you can scroll through all of these photos in this fashion if you choose, but if you head over to the albums, that's where things get interesting, because here is when the AI recognition kicks in. So, for example, in terms of places, it is now going to look at all the faces that were in those photos, not by the names of the pictures, but the faces. And then you can just name a person, and then it will tag these people. So, take for example this chap here. His name is Gerard. We're going to name Gerard here. And boom, he's now there. If we click on Gerard, we can see these 3 different pictures from a party bus and a party we were at over Christmas. I've already clicked myself here, and if we click me, we've got different collections of photos from different points throughout December, me opening presents looking like an idiot, all throughout that time with my face recognised. Now, the system isn't perfect. No facial recognition is truly perfect because there will always be factors in the way, such as this photo of me where there's light shining on my face. But if I name myself there again, click Robbie, merge them, and now it will add it to there. The same with here with my partial, a small area of my face has been covered, so I can add me there. And there I am added again. It's that straightforward to add people, and these people will be added to a database as you move forward. So, if we click back, we go back into albums, we can have a look at things. Now, in the things quota, we can have a look at what it's recognised, and this is one of the areas of which I am going to judge these 2 apps quite strongly, because I want to know that as many things as possible have been picked up. If we look through it, we can see right now that animal, for example, we click animal, and there's a million pictures of cats, because I really like my cats, can you tell? Move over from that, we can go into food, and there's lots of food that I've eaten throughout the December period, and yes, I really do need to get back on the exercise bike. There's plants, there's cats, so there's animals and cats, as well as pets. But it's not perfect, as I don't know if you noticed, but pet here was also catalogued as a dog here when it's clearly a cat. This may be because of the bulkiness of my cat, and maybe I fed him too much over Christmas, but there's still nevertheless nothing's perfect in true recognition. Now we've got food, and then we have meal. The distinction between them isn't entirely clear. All of these are things I've eaten out at different restaurants and gatherings, none of which were my own meals. We have drinks, but if we move further down, we also have alcohol listed there, and another area listed around meat. So we have a few areas of recognition, but if we count this up, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, almost 6 rows there with 6 on a row. 35 things have been recognised. Now, before we move forward, we'll add another tag here, just to test one last feature. We're going to tag one more person, and we're going to go with this person. We're going to call them Katie. Tag them, and now Katie, Robbie, and Gerard have been tagged. The last thing to touch on about with the QMagie user interface is this folder here. with the folder icon here, we are able to search the NAS on a pure folder level. So rather than searching through the device using recognition, we can still access individual folders on the NAS, which is quite handy. Moving forward, we can carry on and look at places, and this is where geolocational data that's been locked in to the photos that have been taken have been recorded. However, it's worth highlighting that this has said South East England, United Kingdom. Now, a lot of the photos did take place during that time. There's no avoiding it. But the point still remains, those are only 2 locations. And even though I was in London and the South East, it should give me a lot broader information than that. I would definitely give it high marks for the recognition, with so many people recognised, as well as so many things recognised, as well as the folder breakdown and just the snappiness of the user interface that we are using. Because remember, this is via a web browser, via the network. Still, I'm a little let down by the map-based recognition. So let's make our way over to Moments. Now, Synology Moments, if anything, the user interface seems a little emptier, which is something I would not expect from a Synology NAS. That said, now we've gone into the photos, one of the earliest things becomes very, very apparent: the support of GIFs. You're looking here at numerous GIFs, graphical animations of things and photos that I've taken, and that's because Synology Moments has a greater support of live photos and GIFs. The result is that if you are using the live photo export to GIF functionality that's available on Android and iPhone devices, you can take advantage of that within Moments. The photos that we've uploaded to the device are still here, and if we head over to Albums, we can take a look at a breakdown of what's available. So first we'll go to People. Now in the People chart, we can see how many people we've recognised so far. It noticed 23 pictures of me there, and if we carry on, there's 2 more pictures of me there. So if we use me as the case in point here, so we'll use my name here again, and again we'll do that there, and we'll merge those 2 together, and we'll see if there's any more pictures of me currently available in this list. But it hasn't recognised some of those faces, perhaps because they were partially obscured or because of the light over the lens. But this recognises 25 pictures of Robbie. And I believe on QMagie it recognised more. It recognised 24, so it actually recognised 1 more on the Synology. My mistake. With Gerard, we have 5 photos of Gerard. So it has seemingly recognised more photos of Gerard. And we'll go with Katie there again. And we can have a look and see if there's any more photos of both of those people. And carrying on, it doesn't look that way. So 23 versus 29. And in the case of Gerard, 3 versus 5. So again, it would seem there is a photo of Gerard there. There he is. Even though that doesn't look like a human face, it's definitely Gerard. And if we go, we can find another picture, the duplicated photo with the higher resolution. So we've got to give props to Synology Moments for recognising more faces overall. The same goes for the photos of Katie. It has recognised more photos of Katie on the Synology than it has on the QNAP. Now, moving back, we can carry on with the subject of subjects. On subject of subjects, we have got a row here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 16 different subjects have been noticed. Now this is somewhere where I think the QNAP has gained the edge, because it has noticed more things and there are more breakdowns. Now, whether you think those breakdowns are relevant are purely a decision for yourself. But there's no denying that there are more things being recognised, and there is overlap, of course, with regards to food and meals, but which might be relevant once you start uploading 1, 2, 3 or a decade of photos. Distinctions might make all the difference once photos are scanned. Now if we look through, we can see that again, for some reason, it has noticed dog, even though that's clearly a cat. So neither system is perfect, or as perfect as recognition can be done. Now we've got food and drink, we have dessert, and we have dining. New objects that weren't available here on the QNAP selection. We have dessert, but dining goes under different names, which shows that there is slight tweaks and differences between both of their AI-powered recognitions. If we look at an individual photo, so if we go back to the photos listing, first we can take a look at one of those GIFs. Let's go for this one here and see how well it works in the web browser. It's slowly loading up each frame of the GIF, but we should see a return to full speed in just a moment once the full GIF has been loaded. And there we are with full speed. We can share the GIF as needed, and again, you can specify to individual users within the NAS or share via the network or the internet. If we go to the information section, we can find out a little bit of information about it, but because it's a GIF, there is far less metadata than in a standard photo. And other options include downloading and slideshows. If we download the photo, it downloads the full GIF. So again, what we'll do is we'll do another comparison here, but this time utilizing a standard photo. So this time we're going to go for a picture of this table of strange burnt English food. Once again, we can share it with connected users. Alternatively, we can click the eye and get more information about the stuff that's been taken in this photo, but there is less ready and available information in Synology Moments. Now, you've probably already mentioned in the comments, but I'll highlight it now and at the end, that in DSM-7, Synology Moments and Synology Photos are being merged together to make Synology Photos, and that is when I think you will see differences on the information readily available. If we go to the edit settings, we can get the system to update the color automatically, and we can rotate the picture within this user interface, options that were available on the QNAP 2. And finally, we can delete the photo or go to more and download the picture if we choose, but we can only download the full-size version of this picture and not the multiple options that the QNAP offered. Again, up to you if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Now, as plain sailing as good as this is, it's not perfect. Don't get me wrong, I'm still hugely impressed by the fact that compared with the QNAP, when I went to locations and I went to places, it didn't give me much information. Look at that miserable sod, that is too much drinking. Whereas on Moments, it broke down a hell of a lot more information using geolocational data that can be utilized in QNAP's Photo Station app, but in QMagie doesn't seemingly have access. So although lots of these places are in the southeast of England, they've been broken down significantly more in detail on Synology Moments. So as I say, it's a great app and there is lots going for it, but it's not perfect. First and foremost, you don't have folder level access that you had on the QNAP. The ability to go through folders manually as well as with recognition via a single user interface cannot be overestimated. Maybe it's because the Synology wants to keep things simple and keep things graphical, or because Synology Moments requires you to use that direct folder for all of the photos, making sure that you have to upload the photos in the directories they choose, and this may well make all the difference. But with regards to both of these user interfaces, if we pop them side by side, there we go, and I've already logged out of that account, we can see that the user interfaces of both of them are quite similar. There's no ignoring that. But once we go into more detail, we can see that we have more layers of access on QMagie, but probably a better graphical user interface on Synology Moments. If we go into people, we can make a decision which one's better. And let's be honest, they're almost chuffing identical. If we go into the Things album, we can see which one looks better. And again, very similar indeed, but the icons do seem that little bit brighter and that little bit easier to behold on QMagie. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to wrap things up for this video because we've still got coverage of the mobile applications to go, and this is only part 1 of 2 of QMagie versus Moments in 2020. Me personally, I use both of these tools on separate NASes in my own office and home environment, and both of them have great points and they have bad points too. Synology Moments, I'll never quite get over that folder structure stuff, and QMagie, I won't really get over the fact that it has difficulty with geolocational data. One thing I did say I'd touch on, and I left it towards the end of the video here, because although this is an advantage technically to the QNAP, I will highlight that Synology do offer this to you in a different way. So if we open up the Synology as well, with the QNAP, you have got multimedia console, and this allows you to index photos a great deal easier, and you can lower priorities and heighten priorities of when indexing is going to happen of these photos. You can even upgrade the AI engines within the application as they become available, with betas being available from time to time. Thumbnail generation can be prioritized in a great deal more detail and at better times of day, week or month when you need them. And indexing can be ad hoc as soon as something's added, and you can even action re-indexing if you so choose for it to rebuild the database whenever you need. Now the Synology does allow you to do this, but not quite in such a nice way. You go into the control panel and then you have to go into file services or indexing services, and from here this is where you can start indexing and indexing individual folders for these apps. But when it comes to Moments, you can still only choose that one folder. You can add extra folders, but unless you've got the photos in there and unless they've updated it recently, I've got to say, in terms of folder structure, the points go to the QNAP for me. But in terms of presentation and coverage, and definitely for the support of those GIFs, the Synology Moments application is still great, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they bring that forward with the merger into Synology Photos. But this has been part 1 of 2 of QMagie versus Synology Moments, and I hope you check out my mobile coverage of this following video. Click like if you've enjoyed this, click subscribe to learn more, and I'll see you on part 2 of this series.